About 5 or 6 videos ago, we brought you our first impressions on a very much anticipated trail running shoe for me, the Peregrine 12. I took it for a nice steady 10k across the sand dunes, and I gotta be honest, it felt pretty good straight out of the box. Over the last couple of weeks, it's become my go-to trail running shoe, and it really is bedding in nicely. So let's dive into the video and find out if any of those good first impressions have changed. Welcome back, folks. I'm Lloyd Purvis and this is Run4Adventure. Hope everybody is fit and well out there and training hard. If you missed it, we announced some exciting news the other day that we are going full-time at the channel, so fully committed to Run4Adventure. Hopefully this will allow us to do all the things we wanted to do over the years, from live streams to podcasts to more weekly content for you guys at home. So if you are enjoying the channel, hit that like button, get in the comments below and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, because it really does help us out when it comes to the crazy world of the YouTube algorithm. But don't forget, guys, to hit that bell icon so you'll be notified when we upload any new content. Right, before we go into how the shoe has performed over the last few weeks, let's give you guys a few stats and a few figures, but also break down the construction in a bit more detail, because there has been a lot of big changes this time round. So the Peregrine 12 now retails for £130 here in the UK. Weight-wise, it comes in at 290 grams in a men's UK 9.5. It still runs off the same 4mm heel offset. So you've got 26.5mm on the heel and 22.5mm under your forefoot. It is available in 2 different colorways for men and for women. And when it comes down to sizing, I would say it's true to size with average width in the toe box. When it comes to the new construction, like I just said, there has been quite a lot of changes made to the upper and to the midsole. I'm very happy to say not many changes have been made to the brilliant Peregrine's outsole, so you can all take a big sigh of relief there. So the first changes we're going to talk about are the upper, and it's definitely a bit more stripped back this time round. So we've still got a gusseted tongue in the shoe, but it's definitely a lot less padded, and they've removed quite a lot of bulk and padding around the ankle collar and in the heel cup of the shoe. So we got sort of padding in all the areas that we need it, but it's definitely a bit more minimal. The upper fabric hasn't changed massively. It does feel a little bit softer to touch when you compare it to the Peregrine 11. Still looks nice and durable, and it's got quite a tight weave on it, so it should be really good at keeping out trail debris. We got structural overlays starting at the heel, working around the midfoot for a nice lockdown, and around that toe box just to give you a little bit more protection and durability. Speaking of protection, we got a nice substantial toe bumper in the shoe as well, and the addition of a handy pull tab on the tongue and on the heel. I'm also glad to see that Saucony have kept in this little bit of handy elastic in the construction. Great for tucking the laces behind so you don't get them snagged when you're hitting the trails. Moving down to the midsole, and no massive changes here. So the shoe still runs off a full power run midsole, very similar to what we got in the Peregrine 11s. The biggest change comes when we look internally in the shoe. So if I can pull out that sock liner or insole, you can see now we don't get that sort of Power Run Plus top sole that we got in the Peregrine 10 and 11. So that's kind of been worked into the insole in the shoe. So this is now constructed fully of Power Run Plus compound. It's much thicker, feels softer, and it feels bouncier. And I mentioned it in our first impressions video that it looks and feels very similar to the brilliant boomerang footbeds that you get in some of the Innovate shoes. I did hear of a few runners having issues with that Power Run top sole in the Peregrine 11 sort of working loose over time and causing them some problems. So I wonder if that's why Saucony have changed the construction of the insole in the shoe. So if we just pop that back in there. And lastly, The one part of the shoe that hasn't seen any massive changes, just some subtle tweaks, and I'm very happy about that because I've never heard anyone have a bad word to say about the outsole on the Peregrine when it comes down to grip and traction. So we've still got that nice aggressive 5mm lug pattern that's great for crossing over a big mix of terrain in different weather conditions. You can see it's still coated in the super sticky Power Track rubber, and we have a slightly redesigned rock plate worked into the forefoot of the shoe. Saucony claim that this is going to be a lot more flexible straight out the box, but still offer great levels of underfoot protection. You can sometimes find that when there's big changes made to a running shoe that it can go one of two ways. After that first 10k run, I was pretty convinced it was heading in the right direction, and I actually liked the feel of all the changes. I've put some really good miles in the shoe since that first outing, so let's find out if it's continued to impress. There's several of the big changes that have stood out for me, but the first one I have to talk about is the improved fit. Anyone who's followed the channel knows I was a massive fan of the Peregrine 10, and a lot of that came down to the fit of the shoe. It just worked for my foot shape so well. Really well locked down around the midfoot, really well held and supported by that heel cup, just the right width in the toe box, and again just the right level of sort of padding and breathability in that upper. When it was updated to the Peregrine 11, I just feel Saucony added a bit too much stuff to the upper, too much gumph, too much padding, and I just didn't feel that it gave me that precise fit anymore. Don't get me wrong, I still really enjoyed running in that shoe, but it just didn't feel as connected as it did when I ran in the Peregrine 10s. So great to see that for me, that fit is definitely back. I feel way more connected to the new upper, and I'm loving those changes. And to me, it just feels like I'm back in the Peregrine 10, which is definitely not a bad thing. Next on the list would have to be that because of that big weight saving, it now feels a lot more nimble and a lot more responsive underfoot. Not that it was bad before, but you definitely notice that 50 grams has disappeared from the weight. And yep, you heard me correctly. I couldn't believe it either when I popped the shoe on the scales and it weighed in at 290 grams in a men's UK 9.5 compared to 343 grams of the previous model. And that is pretty impressive to lose that kind of weight on an update to an existing model. The last thing I wanted to mention was that redesigned rock plate in the forefoot of the shoe. I've always been a massive fan of the rock plate in the Peregrine. I think it works amazingly well on rocky trails and offers a great level of forefoot protection, but I did tend to find that it would take sort of 2, 3, 4 runs just to break the shoe in a bit and get that plate a bit more flexible. Once you've done that, it performed really, really well, but it did take a bit of bedding in. So when I heard that Saucony said they'd redesigned it and they were making claims of it's still going to offer great levels of protection, but it's going to be way more flexible, I was really excited to try it. And my conclusion is they were right. You know, it definitely feels way more flexible straight out the box. You can see there a lot more flex through that forefoot, but still giving me great levels of underfoot protection. You can see a pretty positive experience so far, and I'm a big fan of all the changes. However, not a big fan of a £15 price increase. It's not great when you see these big price increases between the models of shoe, and this was one of the standout features of the Peregrine. You could go out and for £115, you could get a very versatile trail running shoe that's going to run you across a big mix of terrain in lots of different weather conditions, and it was such good value. So with that £15 extra on the price, not as affordable now. Don't get me wrong, it's still not bad with the madness going on in the running shoe world and the prices we're seeing. Obviously all the manufacturing issues and shoes being delayed and Brexit here in the UK, it's still pretty affordable, but a £15 price increase is never going to be a good thing. But we've reached that point in the review where we need to get some points on the Run4Adventure board. So let's start scoring the all-new Peregrine 12, and let's start with the price first. Coming in at £130 now here in the UK, it is just a little bit disappointing. Don't get me wrong, it's not that bad for a super versatile run-on-anything trail running shoe, but price was always an area where the Peregrine scored really high here at the channel because it was such good value. Unfortunately, this time round, it is going to get marked down a little bit because of that big price increase. So it's going to come in with a respectable 7 out of 10 for price. Comfort and performance up next, and I personally think that the performance of the shoe has definitely been improved with all those updates. It just feels more responsive, more connected with that big weight reduction, but you still got a lot of those great Peregrine features that we've learnt to love. So that nice aggressive outsole, great lug depth, super sticky power track rubber, and brilliant protection under your forefoot, as well as an improved fit and lockdown. I think there might be some runners out there that find it is a slightly firmer ride underfoot. I haven't had an issue with that. It's felt very comfortable for me, but I think some people were hoping for a deeper, softer level of cushioning in the new Peregrine. That's obviously where the new Exodus Ultra will come into the Saucony lineup when it is released. So when it comes down to the new Peregrine, we are fans here at Run4Adventure, so it is going to score a high-performing, super versatile 9 out of 10 for comfort and performance. Last on the list is the all-important topic of durability, and this has always been an area for me where my Peregrines have performed really well. I've always managed to get a good 500 miles out of every pair before it sort of started to break down, and looking good so far. So no early signs of wear on that upper at all. It's looking good at the flex point. We've also got no power run topsole to cause anybody any issues. Always a pretty tricky thing to score when you haven't got 100, 200, 300 miles into a running shoe. So anyone out there with really good mileage into their Peregrines, get in the comments below and let us know how it's holding up. The outsole on all of my Peregrines has always been pretty bomb-proof. It tends to wear down very slowly, even if you're crossing over to long sections of tarmac. I've never had an issue with it. And the new outsole looking just as solid, so hardly any signs of wear on the shoe at all. So when it comes down to the all-important topic of durability, we're going to score it a very impressive 9 out of 10. So tallying up all those points, the brand new Peregrine 12 scores a top-performing 25 out of 30 here at Run4Adventure, and that makes me very happy. I reckon that Saucony have been producing some of the best colorways and designs when it comes to running shoes over the last couple of years, and the new Peregrine looks pretty cool in this blue colorway. I like the sort of splattered midsole, and it also comes in a very bright and bold sort of golden orange colorway. The women's colors pretty strong as well, so we're definitely going to give it a thumbs up for looks here at the channel. When it comes down to comparisons, I find it pretty tricky to find comparisons to the Peregrine because there's not many shoes that are as versatile as this. Obviously, Saucony do the Exodus, which is kind of a deeper, more cushioned version of the Peregrine. And I've always found that the Hoka Torrent does run very similar. Similar heel offset, it is a little bit lighter, a little bit softer. And the Peregrine would definitely give you a bit more traction and a bit more grip in muddy conditions. But I've always found that if people enjoy running in the Peregrines, that they enjoy the Hoka Torrent too. So there you have it, the all new Peregrine 12. A few facts about the shoe and about how it has performed over the miles. I think it's about time we wrap this video up with a quick conclusion. So I think there is a lot of Peregrine fans out there that are going to love the updates made to the shoe. That lighter, racier, faster feel, the improved fit and lockdown. But I also think there might be a few fans out there that were hoping or wishing for a slightly deeper, softer level of cushioning underfoot. I think the new Peregrine will make a lot more sense when Saucony have released their whole trail running range this year, because I think the Peregrines being pitched at that sort of shorter, racier, faster kind of distance now, especially when you compare it to the new Exodus Ultra and the Endorphin Edge. But if you are a trail runner looking for a trail running shoe that will cross over to a massive mix of terrain in all kinds of weather conditions, and you can only have one pair of trail running shoes, then I definitely recommend you take a closer look at the new Peregrine. So I've left a link in the description so you can check it out. That is another trail running shoe review crushed here at Run4Adventure. Really hope you enjoyed it. Really hope you found it helpful. it would be great to get your feedback, guys. So if you've been running in the 12s and you've racked up some great mileage, then let us know how the shoe is performing in the comments below. Don't forget you can follow us on our other social media platforms, whether it be Instagram, Facebook or Strava. And if you are enjoying the content at the channel, then smash that like button, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. But for now, guys, thanks for watching. It's always appreciated. And as always, stay safe and keep on running. I hate it when we see changes between the models, a massive price change. We've still got that gusseted tongue in the upper, but it's... put my teeth back in.